Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the Demonology Warlock in all its glory as it stands right now in the Warlords of Draenor beta, which is due to drop. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I love it. I completely love it. I hated this spec for so long. For so long, I hated it. As a little side note, the footage in the background is only from one of the many dungeons I had to do from this, but it was, in fact, the most fun, because we had a weak tank. And as you may or may not know, Demonology currently puts out LOL DPS, and a weak tank plus LOL DPS is aggro issues. All good stuff. So, why am I enjoying the Demonology Warlock so much? Choice. Give me choice and I shall shine. Give me choice. I don't want your set rotations and priority systems. I don't want it. I want to do what feels right. And when it feels right and it all comes together, it's absolutely awesome. There's probably so few people in the world right now who would give you a correct answer on how exactly the Demonology Warlock should be played. Eventually, that will probably work itself out. But the fact that we are this close to release and people are still going, maybe? I don't know. Maybe? Kind of? Should we do this? Should we not? I don't know. Some things are set in stone, which you may or may not like. Let's talk about the gameplay changes and how this has become one of those specs where your talent choice is similar to the warrior, totally dictates how that will be played, and you can adjust accordingly, which is just fantastic. I love the talent system when it works as it's supposed to, when it's not cookie cutter, when it's not set in stone, when it's like, what does this fight demand of me? I'm going to take this then. That's very, very cool. Let's talk about the main offender. The one that is, I'm sure you've seen it. Demon Bolt. Demon Bolt. If you're a Warlock, you've heard all about it. You've probably seen it spammed, and that Demon Bolt is the kick in the face that the boss deserves, yet needs, and it will get it in its full power. Demon Bolt. Demon Bolt changes your gameplay of Demonology in basically turning Metamorphosis back into a full-on DPS cooldown, which is what it was originally and how I actually preferred it, because it gave such glory and stature to Metamorphosis rather than it being something we drop into, we apply our little spells, and then we drop out again. All that kind of stuff, instead of it being like, boom, I'm a fucking demon, bitch, get the fuck out of my way, which is what I always thought Metamorphosis should be. Demon Bolt has been changed. Last time we looked at it, Demon Bolt was worded in a way that it was designed to give you a nice big spell to use as soon as you go into meta that hits like a truck, but then it kind of weakens off depending on how much fury you have, but ultimately it then refunds the fury back to you when you come out of meta, giving you sort of like a very dull kind of playstyle. The problem was it hit really hard, so people were like, I kind of just want to cast Demon Bolt. Blizzard heard that and decided that they didn't want to change it to give its original intent. They decided just to make it hit even harder. Oh, Blizz, why you do this? So now, Demon Bolt is like a spell that you cast once, then it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, but costs more. We've seen spells like this in the past, and then you ultimately can't cast it anymore because you've run out of Demonic Fury, and that is the end of your fun time period, which is why it makes meta such a DPS cooldown. Ultimately, with Demon Bolt, the general style of play, as I said, Demonology has huge options, which is just glorious, is to get as much Demonic Fury as possible in the window to allow the debuff of Demon Bolt to wear off. As I said, it starts costing more the more you cast it, gives you a debuff, and when that wears off, you want to have a good solid, at least to be able to cast 3, is the general thinking right now. Demon Bolt's back to back as your third one really rocks the fucking universe. And then go back to normal, and then maybe cast a Doom. Maybe, if you got the Fury to spend on it. I don't know. Certainly in your opener, you don't. Which is interesting, right? People like things set in stone, like, I gotta get into meta, I've gotta get my Doom up, I've gotta do this and this. Now it's like, how much Fury do I have? Do I have Dark Soul? Have I glyphed my Dark Soul? Have I got it ready to go? All this kind of stuff has to line up nicely, making Demon Bolt and meta synergize really well. And I quite like it, especially with Archimon's Darkness thrown on top of there to make you a real single target beast. You're going to be doing usual stuff like keeping corruption up. As you get into your rotation, you'll easily have enough fury left over to get your Doom up eventually. Glyph of Imp Swarm is still in existence. Is it a DPS increase or not? Still on the fence. Still on the fence. Some people say yay, some people say no. I don't mind. I prefer it to not have the glyph, to be honest, which I think is very cool. Some scaling issues potentially. The debuff is actually reduced by haste. Did it need that? Probably not. Probably not. I want to see exactly when we'll start seeing the amount of haste needed that you can actually do it more than is reasonable. And then Blizzard gets into that whole mess where they're like, I need to tweak this down and nerf it a little bit because we let them get too far ahead with it. And it's always iffy if you just stack on that reduced by haste aspect, because then it's like, this could be a problem in the future. This could be an issue, and nobody likes to have like a really glorious moment and then suddenly Blizzard's like, yeah, we let it get out of hand. Sorry. Gonna nerf it back down. Really sad. But that potential does exist with Demon Bolt, and that's the way it could go. But what about if we're doing an AoE fight? Well, let's just rock a Cataclysm, which if you're in Metamorphosis applies Doom to everything. Thumbs up from me, and then throw in some Manoros fucking Fury, because that's all good, and then Immolation Aura all over the damn place. You still have those choices like you classically have in Mists of Pandaria. Then we throw out a, what's it called? I'm going to forget. The Chaos Wave. I believe it's Chaos Wave, if they're going to live long enough. All these different scenarios, always changing your decision-making process. Always making you think, should I do this? Should I do that? What feels right here? What's the best solution to this question? And maybe it's not right, but maybe it's going to be close enough, and that'll do for me. So it has all those choices mixed into it, which is fantastic. Absolutely adore it. Really happy with where Demonology is right now. Some little tweaks from Mop, which might make your quality of life a little bit better, is no longer is Hand of Gul'dan weaving a thing. Thumbs up. Doom snapshotting is gone. Obviously, all snapshotting is gone, so Doom snapshotting is gone as well, which it just stops things like the Trinket of Lei Shen getting involved again and all that kind of stuff, where it's like, I have to get this because it makes my DPS go through the roof. And if I don't have it, I suck. All that kind of stuff going on. So thank God that's actually out of there, which is why you can be a little bit choosy with things like Doom in your opener, which is all good in my book. So far, I've got to say, the only issues I'm having with it is a little bit of melee range stuff on the move. It's not too bad in my opinion, because you still get to do a 2-stack Hand of Gul'dan. Your set bonus in PvE gives you a 3rd charge of Hand of Gul'dan. That doesn't mean you can get a 3-stack, but it does make it far easier to chain back-to-back 2-stacks. Yeah, so you have that period of time where it's on cooldown and it's refreshing and all that kind of stuff, so you can get lots of double-stack Hand of Gul'dans rocking and rolling. All pretty good. Talk about Molten Core for a second. Molten Core was, is an interesting one, because that Soulfire just costs so much fucking mana, dude. Really so much mana. And it's one of those things that people are like, what's happened here? I've been kind of working it in between Shadow Bolts is how it felt nicer to me, rather than having to resort to life taps all the time. Whether or not that's going to be the case, or whether you're going to be trying to fit in like 3 Demon Bolts, 3 Demon Bolts, and then a Doom, and then maybe trying to slap in a couple of Soulfires in there to try and get the best of the best out of them, instead of them costing you mana. What I can say is if you're not in Meta and it's not costing you Demonic Fury, it's so expensive. It's like 30,000 mana or something strange like that. It's really, really expensive, which is sad because it's such a cool proc. It's a nice proc. It should be, you know, it reminds me very much of like Frostfire Bolt and Ice Lance and all that kind of stuff. And when it happens, it should be exciting. And at the moment, it's so expensive that it's just not. It's really just not that exciting. And it's like, should I cast these or not? I don't think it's a great thing to have with a proc, especially it gives you a big fiery border on your screen that you're thinking, maybe, maybe not. When do I want to cast this? Again, I do like the choice, but if it's a big proc that's going to flash up on your screen, I kind of want that to be, you know, something that I should react to in some fashion, or maybe have it set in stone a little bit on that size, like try and fit these in Meta. Okay. That should be the way it should be. So those are the little issues I'm having with it. Other than that, just huge amounts of choice and huge amounts of ways of holding back a little bit with fell storms and whatnot, just to make sure everything works quite well. For Mists of Pandaria's sort of boring style, I haven't mentioned Touch of Chaos. Practically useless now, got to be said. Practically useless. If you're single targeting, 99 times out of 100 you're going to be taking Demon Bolt. Touch of Chaos is rampantly useless in that scenario, and that's pretty much it, and that's what most people will care about on the bosses. Even if you're doing 2 to 3 targets, Demon Bolt is still better. So Touch of Chaos has kind of lost its flavor. Maybe something to make it a little bit more interesting. Refreshing Corruption is just not interesting. It's easier just to refresh Corruption manually now. It's such a non-deal compared to everything else that you can do. As much as Corruption is a very powerful asset, refreshing it normally and not using Touch of Chaos isn't worth it, because Touch of Chaos is just so expensive. So expensive. I forget its exact cost, but it's pretty expensive for what it does, which is a little bit sad. But not too bad, because you get Demon Bolt in its place. All good. All good. So it swings and roundabouts, guys. I'm just so happy playing this, having fun with it, having fun as a big demon. making it count, which is something I always thought lacked in Mists of Pandaria, and even in Kata, is it just felt like Meta was just... It was a bit worthless, and now it's not, which is fucking glorious. Here's a little side on the move that seems to be Hellfire still involved sometimes. I personally haven't. I've just chosen to refresh my Corruption and drop Hand of Gul'dan while I'm moving around. I like those instant cast spells, but there's a lot of people using Hellfire. Means melee range, right? Means melee range. Nobody likes that. Don't want to be in melee range. I did read, though, as a curious point as we come to the end here, is somebody suggesting things like a glyph where your Hellfire is centered around your pet. I've got to say, what an absolutely glorious, glorious idea. Really cool that you still channel it, but it channels through your pet. Oh, that would be fantastic. Well worthwhile in consideration, Blizz, for anybody who thinks about that kind of stuff. All right, guys, Demonology Warlock. Not perfect yet, but really, really fun, and that's all that matters. Bye, guys.